first I thought, is it true? And then I double check and it seems like it is true.
Yeah, it's
And I,
true.
yeah, so I don't know what's the thoughts behind, or
Well,
or are you,
he must be trying to keep a good relationship with she.
is that so important to Trump administration?
Well, when it comes to negotiating the trade and the tariffs and all the issues that they have,
Uh-huh.
and then oil from other countries, and what happens when he puts more sanctions on Russia, and so I think Trump knows what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Yeah, but and also it might change anytime.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's start. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is August 26th. Here is my dear friend, Tom Fuentes. Tom, how are you?
Good. Hello, everybody.
So nice to see you, Tom. And Tom, before we start, we have so many things to discuss with Tom today, as usual. And I'd like to introduce Tom to everyone. Tom worked for FBI for 30 years, and he worked as assistant director of FBI for 5 years, and he's retired now. And once again, welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. We have so many things. Okay, first thing first. You know the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook,
Right.
and well, this couple of days she's been a hot topic, right? President Trump actually determined her position, and she had a statement today and said that I will stay here. I will not go anywhere. And then she said, I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help American economy as I have been doing since 2022. So, what do you think about her reaction? Do President Trump has the right to determine her position?
I don't know if he really does or not. I think that, he might have some control of it, but I know that, she's going to contest it. And I think he would have assumed that that was going to happen, that she's not just going to go along with it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that goes next.
Yeah.
They're still talking about the head of the Federal Reserve leaving or stepping down or being replaced or what, but I don't know. Don't know if that's going to happen yet or not.
All right. So this lady, Lisa Cook, has been reported that she has two fraud, like mortgage fraud. So if someone has the mortgage fraud, can he or she become the governor of Federal Reserve?
I would think not, but I'm not sure what the authority is. The Federal Reserve is supposed to be pretty independent,
Mhm.
and she may or may not have the authority to stay. And I think the answer to that would be if they've got evidence against her, then go ahead and bring the case. Go ahead and indict her for mortgage fraud.
Okay, so we're probably still waiting for the procedure, the legal
Yeah.
procedure for, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, but personally, I think if someone was to report that she has two mortgage fraud, it might be some strong evidence there. So
Yeah,
it's
mortgage
all,
fraud is a serious crime. It carries
yeah,
heavy penalties. So, the
right,
case that they're making right now against Adam Schiff is,
right,
more severe than all of his lying and everything else that he's done,
right,
that
right,
he could be facing several years in prison for it
right,
if he's doing that.
right. And Latasha James of New York. So it was a little surprise to me that so many people in such high position have,
Exactly. They're both lawyers, and
yeah,
you'd think they would, I think they just would have assumed, and I'm assuming now, that they
mhm.
just figured nobody's going to bother them. High-ranking Democrats uh, intimidate all Republicans and they get away with it and say and do what they want. And I think that's what they thought was going to happen, that they could do this and get away with it. Who's going to question it?
So basically, they thought they're above the law.
Exactly. And for years they have been. That's
Yeah,
exactly been true for them.
that's That's true. So we'll see. We'll see the Federal Reserve's thing goes. Okay. So second thing is about John Bolton. This guy maybe got a very, very big problem. I just saw Peter Navarro has wrote an article. The title is John Bolton cashed in and American paid the price.
Right.
So as you know that was John Bolton's behavior is careless or is it clearly criminal?
Well, if he did what they are saying he did, it's clearly criminal, and they can go from there. But everybody that has a security clearance, even me, top secret my entire bureau career. You have to be top secret to even be the janitor at the FBI, to work in
Mm-mm,
the office
right.
unescorted and have access to everything.
Mm-hmm,
The You agree by accepting top secret or a security classification, you agree that if you're going to publish any material, you have to submit it first for review. You write a book, you write an article, you write something, you
mm-hmm,
have to submit it. And the accusation is that Bolton, years ago, had authored several books and submitted them for pre-publication review, it's called,
mm-hmm,
and was told you have to change this or take this paragraph out or
mm-hmm.
make these various changes. And then when the books got published, none of the changes were made. And so that's why his case is going to be very easy in that sense, because he submitted for review and then didn't obey what they said for him to do as a result of the review. Now, I've
Okay.
had people question me in the years since I've been trying, why don't you write a book? Why don't you do that? And I
Right.
look at it that the people that write these books are doing it for their own self-aggrandizement, which just means for their own glory.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
And I looked at it that the entire time I was in the FBI, 29 years, and
Mm-hmm.
again, the entire time having top secret, I never remove, to write a book, you'd have to know dates and times and who did what and who said what. I never took any documents home or for my own personal use or
Mm-hmm.
made notes and took the notes home. So I'd be trying to write a book from just memory off the top of my head. Well, way back in 2002, and I was in Russia or I was in China and such and such. And in fact, 2002, I opened the office in Beijing
Mm-hmm.
for the FBI. Um, and then to try to remember the exact dates, places, people I dealt with, everything about the deals. I just looked at it that no, it's too easy to be wrong. And it's too easy to just look like you did that just for your own glory, or
Mm-hmm.
you could get a higher paying job
Mm-hmm.
after retirement with the media or wherever. And this is back when I retired. This precedes podcasts like you have now. So
Mm-hmm.
some people now are making a lot of money on podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time you write a book, you get paid, or you get a job with a company and you keep your clearances. And if you're depending what you're doing, I consulted to a company after I left the Bureau that was doing classified work for the Bureau. And so
Mm-hmm.
in that case, they then sustained my clearances. They submit me to maintain my clearances after retirement, which I did for a couple of years and worked on more classified material. But the
Mm-hmm.
agreement that you sign off with the government is even today, if I write a book and I'm referring back to classified events or arrests or whatever investigations, I still have to abide by the review process.
Oh,
So I can't just sit and start writing a book and say, I'm going to make $1 million on this book. It's illegal to do it without the authority to do it. So, so to me, I just thought, no, I don't need to do that. I don't need to prove I had an important job or I made important decisions or I was involved in, one thing or another. I just didn't feel like that was necessary for me to do.
sure. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. So even for yourself, like you write a memory for yourself, you
Yeah.
don't publish that. So that's fine. If it's you just give to your kids, your grandkids, and just like a memory of your
Well,
life.
even then, and you give it to somebody and then they could give it away to be published and kind of
Oh,
circumvent the process. So I would have never done that. I
I,
didn't do it. I'll put it that way.
but some events happen in your lifetime is very memorable or very
Yeah,
meaningful.
some are historic,
Yeah,
but
but you just cannot write it down. You can talk, like talking the
no,
podcast, but
even I can't, even if I reveal it by orally by talking, no,
no.
no,
Oh,
you've got to maintain the secrecy. You got to maintain the information that you know that you obtained as a result of being in a sensitive case and a sensitive position with the FBI. Now, not every case in the FBI is
top secret.
classified at that level. So if you're
Uh-huh.
working other fraud cases or other clear-cut cases like that, but if you're working organized crime or espionage or some of these things, then yes, they're going to be classified even at the top secret level or above even,
Mhm.
and you need to maintain security of the information.
There are so many secrets will be the secrets forever.
Yeah.
That's the, yeah, right, understandable. And salute for that principle. Yeah. So Bolton will definitely know about that,
Oh,
but
absolutely. Well,
not
he was
that. Okay.
supposedly he submitted for the last book he wrote, he submitted it for
Uh-huh.
review.
Uh-huh.
They told him change this, change that, whatever, because
He,
they can pick it apart and pick certain paragraphs, take out certain events, don't talk about.
mhm,
And there's a department within each agency,
mhm.
like the FBI, that gets submitted to them and they make the review. And if they tell you to make these changes, then you have to make them or not publish. And in his case, they told him certain changes to make. He didn't make them, he published anyway.
How could he? I don't understand.
Because he was above the law. He thought he's so important he can do what he wants.
Well, now he must pay the price.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
He hasn't been indicted yet. He
yeah.
hasn't paid a price yet. So we'll see.
So we'll see. And then why was it not investigate until now? I think this
Well,
happened.
because at the time when his books get published, and I think Trump was out, Biden was in, and his Department of Justice and all of that, Merrick Garland and company. And I
Okay.
think that a lot of people were never held accountable for a wide variety of things in that department.
Right.
And so that's starting more and more to come out right now.
Yeah, it's yeah, we'll see what's going on this whole case. But clearly he's doing something against the law. We should
Yeah,
say that. It's not only policy, it's a law.
it's the law.
Yeah, right. And
But a lot of times they ignore that. So if you look at, for example, every when you're in the government, every memo you write, every email you send, and all of that is archived forever.
right.
That's why they have the law that says you will use the government's system
Hmm.
for any official business because then it'll be retained and they know it.
Right.
And that's why Hillary
Yeah.
was doing Clinton Foundation business while Secretary of State, so kind of leaning on people to contribute money to the foundation, millions of dollars, by the way. She didn't want that in the government records. She didn't want that in the records forever. So that's why she established the individual server at her home.
Yeah.
And that's why she was in a position to destroy those records when she got found out and when the Bureau was investigating her for a couple of, investigating the foundation for a couple of years.
Hmm.
And that's what she was doing. She figured, well, I'll just destroy it. I'll bleach bit my BlackBerry. They were using BlackBerries at the time before iPhone became popular. Um, and in some cases, she hammered and destroyed the
Yeah.
devices and had the equipment taken out of her home and all of that, knowing that the only way to recover those records is if she sends an email to another person, the other person has it. If they're in the government, it's in their records.
Right.
So even though she would destroy her records, it would be in the other person's, and they would have to voluntarily tell investigators, hey, I have a copy of that memo. I have that email.
Right. Wow.
So a lot of issues, especially the foundation. The foundation was under extensive investigation,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't realize there's a federal rule of investigations that if the Department of Justice tells you as an investigator, or you, the FBI, we don't care if you get all the evidence in the world, you solve this completely, we will not prosecute.
Hmm.
If they say up front they're not going to prosecute no matter what, you have to stop investigating. You can't keep gathering more. You have to stop. And then what would happen is that the government or the FBI or whoever would send a letter to that attorney's office or the Department of Justice, and it's called a declination letter. I,
Hmm.
I signed hundreds over the years.
Hmm.
And in that, you say, uh, from you as special agent in charge or as assistant director to the U.S. attorney or to the deputy attorney general.
Hmm.
And the letter starts out, this is to confirm a conversation on such and such date
Hmm.
between your prosecutor and my agent, wherein you informed my agent you will not prosecute,
Hmm.
period.
Hmm.
This is to confirm that you said
Sure.
that you declined future prosecution. And
Mhm.
therefore, what it tells the FBI is stop. No more subpoenas, no more investigation, no records, no anything. You're done. And so that's what happened in the Clinton Foundation cases. A number of field divisions were investigating various aspects where she was taking these, you know, as favors and all of that. The money that they lived off a lot of the foundation money that's supposed to go to charity,
Right.
supposed to be charitable, but they were taking first class flights around the world, supposedly used a lot of the money from that
Mhm.
to buy their house in Chappaqua, New York, and all that. And you remember the Clintons, when they left office, said, "Oh, we don't have it. We're poor. We're
Mhm.
practically
I
bankrupt."
remember that. Yep.
And then suddenly they're millionaires. How'd that
Mhm.
happen? So that was kind of the game that she was playing. Well, in any event, the FBI and several different field divisions had investigations ongoing, gathering the evidence of the improper collection of money and spending of money and accounting for money by the Clinton Foundation.
Mhm.
And what happened then, the Department of Justice tells the FBI, stop,
Yeah.
stop, cease and desist all investigation. That's it. They couldn't issue more subpoenas. They couldn't do more investigation. They couldn't do more interviews. They're done. And that's where it stood. So the foundation was investigations were dead in their tracks back around the time of these emails. So Hillary was extremely corrupt,
Yeah.
extremely.
Hmm.
And she got away with it with all of this stuff that she pulled and threats that she made and everything else.
She's just a criminal. Let's
Sure.
just put it this way, and
Yeah.
a big one.
A
And
big one.
yeah, we'll see what's going on her case on Clinton Foundation. So everybody knows what's going on there, and it really depends on current DOJ if they want us to keep doing this case. What do
It depends. Well, they may go back to earlier cases and current things because, I think Trump figured in his first term, when all of this came out, that if they didn't prosecute her, she didn't win the election, she'd go away. And that'd be
Mhm.
enough of her. You wouldn't hear from her again. But like in the monster movies, she comes back
Yeah. And
and
bigger.
bigger and stronger
Right.
and meaner. I think the other side of it is that if somebody is just trying to get rich or if they're just trying to do certain things, but in Hillary's place, she was just mean.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and that was really why everybody wanted to get her, that she had no popularity anymore. The
Mhm.
Democratic Party would just as soon she'd go away and be quiet. And a lot of people hoped that, and she didn't, and
Yeah.
still hasn't.
When you mentioned that she's mean, I remember that I saw a memo from previous White House worker which worked with Clinton, um, President
Yeah.
Clinton, and Hillary Clinton. And she said that Hillary Clinton most time don't like to see people in White House. So what these workers do is they tell each other what time she will be back or what time she will be certain area of White House. And people are working there just leave early. Just don't let her to see them. She just doesn't want to see anybody.
Right.
Her behavior back in as a first lady in White House, it's just like a very, very mean queen.
Yeah.
So this is a it's a bad person.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going on there. And then yeah, talk about the law and order. I saw that President Trump talked today with the cabinet meeting and said that they probably will recover the death penalty in Washington D.C. Meaning, if someone kills someone in Washington D.C., you're gonna get a death penalty. Um, if Maryland or Virginia or the other state don't want to do that, that's fine. But on the Washington, D.C., this area, if you kill people, you got a death penalty. So, what do you think about this decision or move?
Well, we'll see. It'll still have to be carried out in the courts. You're still going to have a judge and a jury, in a criminal trial convict somebody. And then, the normal rules of procedure, then the judge can make a recommendation for the sentence afterward. And so they're going to have to make a sentence ruling against somebody
Mhm.
that you're going to be executed. Now we'll see if it gets to the point where they do that. I don't know.
So, Washington, D.C. is belong to federal government. So,
Correct.
federal government has the authority to have or have not do the death penalty. Is that correct?
Yeah, but they can't do it on their, I mean, they can't just declare somebody, we're going to kill you, we're going to execute you, whatever.
Yeah.
That person would have to be convicted of a crime that's eligible for the death penalty if you're convicted. And then it's going to go to the jury or to the judge to make the final decision, the sentencing decision.
Mm-mm-mm.
So that's where it may change. Now you look at states like Texas,
Mhm.
if the jury recommends death and the judge says, I agree, that's it. You're going to be executed.
Right.
But when was the last time you heard of a judge in the District of Columbia being anywhere near that conservative or decisive?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's where the breakdown has been. The lack of justice in Washington largely has been because of the liberal judges, even more than liberal prosecutors or other things. Now, one of the big changes, obviously, is Janine Pirro becoming the U.S. Attorney for
Hmm.
the District of Columbia.
Hmm.
Now, that's great as far as, conservative justice, but
Hmm.
she still has to, they still have to try somebody in court and get that kind of a decision made against them.
Sure. So you're talking about even the jury grant the death penalty. The judge may deny this. Is that
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the state. Each
okay?
state has its own rules and regulations about the
Hmm.
sentencing guidelines, how
Sure.
they sentence, and whether or not they can have a sentence for capital punishment.
Right. Right.
So
So do you
it
have
falls into that category.
sure. So Tom, do you have any idea that approximately how many American states has no death penalty? The
I don't
majority.
know offhand. I think that changes every now and then. I know that after the Oklahoma City bombing,
Mhm.
the death penalty was carried out in that case. And if someone's going to be executed in the federal system, they get sent to the federal jail at Terre Haute, Indiana,
Mhm.
because Terre Haute has a electric chair, death penalty room.
Right.
So when I was a special agent in charge of the Indianapolis division, which covered all of Indiana, including Terre Haute,
Mhm.
I actually toured toured the state, I mean, the federal prison there, but
Mhm.
also that part of the prison where they carried out the death penalty.
Mhm. So it sounds like that the East Coast and West Coast, the states do not have the death penalty, huh?
It depends. It's more, it's been historically more common in states like Texas and,
Right,
more conservative leaning states.
right, right.
But, after that, I don't know.
Yeah, right. So what do you think about the death penalty in general? Do you think we should have that or we
I think
should
in
not?
general, what's happened with it to discredit it is that there were so many cases where they later found out that the person actually was innocent, but they're
Okay,
dead. And
sure.
so my position on the death penalty is that it shouldn't just be preponderance of information or any of that. It should be absolutely proof beyond any doubt, not a reasonable doubt,
Mm,
no doubt.
right.
So in a case, the so-called smoking gun, where the
Mm-hmm.
person on camera shoots somebody, kills them, they've
Hmm.
got them on video, they've got that evidence, it
Hmm.
goes to court, there's no doubt.
Right.
No doubt that that person, unless, and the defendant in court, their lawyers are going to say, well, I was in a bad mood that day, or I
Hmm.
had a headache, or I had something like that. It has to go to where the judge and the jury are going to believe that person's responsible for making the decision to carry out that act. And
Hmm.
you could reasonably infer that the person would die if you carried out that act. So,
Hmm.
for example, you shoot somebody in the head, pretty safe to assume they're going to die.
Right.
So if you whip them or something, well, they might not. It
Hmm.
might have great bodily harm, but
Hmm.
it might not be fatal. So
Hmm.
my position is that it has to be a case where there is no doubt whatsoever,
Hmm.
and it carries the death penalty.
Hmm. Right, right. So you are not reject the death penalty. It's just how to use that, how to determine.
How and when,
Yeah,
yeah, how
yeah.
and when.
Okay. Yeah. So talk about another case involved death, which is sadly an illegal immigrants from India. He drive the big truck and he killed three innocent people. Um, Surprisingly, there are 2 million
I know,
in.
I heard that. I just heard that today. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so
I think it's up to 3 million now.
I have no
Now,
word.
when you see the video of that driver, the truck driver,
Uh-huh.
and as he's turning his truck, making the U-turn,
Right.
you see in his dash cam, which points at him,
Uh-huh.
you see the vehicle
Right.
in the background
Yeah.
drive into the truck
Right.
where the three people are killed.
Right.
Then what you see him turn his head and look at that vehicle, knowing it has just crashed into his truck, and you see no sign of emotion
No.
whatsoever.
No.
No remorse. No, oh my God, I can't,
No.
nothing,
He just like,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't realize that he killed people or he just don't care. Okay, so
Well,
that
don't care because you would have to realize when you're watching the video on his camera and you
right,
see that car going that fast
right, right.
and it drives into the side of that truck and he turns and he looks right at it, he has to know people have died in that car. And it's his fault. He has to know that too.
And he don't care. He did not care. So
Apparently not.
yeah, so there are three parts of this case that I cannot accept it. First one, who gave him the driver's lessons? Gavin Newsom in
Yeah.
California.
State of California.
Second one, this guy, the killer. The third one, 2 million people signed for the letter. There is no empathy for the victims.
That's, I was going to comment about that when I saw the story and saw that video, that I think that this is, to me, is one of the really, really dangerous aspects of our society right now. And this is a complete change. I was a police officer over 6 years on the street in uniform,
Mm-hmm.
handled many fatal accidents, many
Right.
serious things like that that were really, really painful.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, I'm an FBI agent, 29 plus years. And when I first started in law enforcement, there was sympathy for victims,
Of course.
victims. And so when we went to court to testify, you were testifying on behalf of the state, which the state law is on behalf of the victims.
Of course.
So in this case, he looks like all these other arrests that we see all the time. No remorse on the part of the killer, the person that committed the crime. That's
Yeah,
one thing.
right.
But on the part of society, who
Yeah.
is supposed to be protected by these laws, no sympathy, no empathy for the people in that car, their
Hmm.
families, their loved ones.
Right.
And and this guy, he shows no remorse whatsoever. He's not the least bit sorry. He's not the least bit shaken up when he turns his head and looks. He's looking right at that car that has just crashed into his truck. He sees it point blank, very close,
Yeah.
and turns his head back. So what?
So why we allow these people come into our society? And who
Well,
are these people
I agree.
signing?
Not just that, but I'm looking now at the 3 million letters on his behalf.
Exactly.
How has our society gotten to the point where now there's more sympathy for the killers
Uh-huh.
than the victims who died?
I want
It's like there's no sympathy, no one speaking out. And one of the things when I was a cop and you'd go to court on
to.
these cases, you arrested somebody, you brought charges against them, whatever it might be. Some cases are serious and some were more speeding tickets or something. But talking about the more serious things, my fellow police officers and I would be just outside the courtroom waiting for our individual cases to get called, and then we would go in
Yeah.
and testify. And we would, even then, and this is in the mid 1970s, I became a cop in 73.
Mhm.
Even then, we were trying to question how can anybody sympathize with the killer?
Right.
Person that did this. And then you would hear these stories that, some young man would be convicted of murder or whatever, go to prison, and all these women would be writing him letters, I love you, I want to marry you, go visit the person in jail, all of that. And you would say, well, there's no accounting for crazy people, stupid people, morons, and all that. And but this is almost an epidemic in our society. And
Mhm.
so now when law enforcement takes action, it seems like almost the entire Democratic Party is
Mhm.
against law enforcement, sympathizes with the victims. Almost always. This guy is no exception. Or Abrego, who's just apparently being deported to I don't know, Uganda or somewhere,
Okay.
originally sent to El Salvador. Here's a
Right.
guy, you look at the list of things that he did
Mhm.
besides beating his wife,
Mhm.
trafficking in human beings, some of these really serious things,
Mhm.
and you have the whole country and the whole Democratic Party rise up to defend him. Oh, no, no, don't deport him. He's a model citizen. And you heard him referred to on the news, the dad from Maryland. Well, now he's going to be the dad and he turned down a deal where they would have sent him to Costa Rica with
Mhm.
no charges.
Yeah.
And, that's a beautiful country. Oh, no, no, no. His lawyers, the liberal lawyers, get him convinced to stand up against that. So now he's going to go to Uganda.
Well, he filed a motion to emergency motion that he has to stay here, and a lady judge Obama appointed agree with him.
Yeah.
Now he's in the legal processing, and he still remain here.
Yeah.
So
We'll see how long that lasts, but you're right.
yeah, so the whole
And he
death.
can't claim going to Uganda is a hardship
Yeah,
because, he was going to El Salvador and he speaks Spanish. They speak Spanish.
right.
Or Costa Rica, Spanish. Uganda, English is an official language of Uganda,
Hmm.
believe it or not, because that was a British possession up
Hmm.
until about the 1940s when it
Hmm.
gained its independence. So Uganda, that's an official language. So
Hmm.
you can't claim that, oh, I don't know the language or what am I going to do? Any of that.
Wow. So what can we do? This whole society looks sick.
Yeah,
very badly. And also the 2 million people who signed the letter are mostly Indian people. I don't know if they are Indian here or they're all over the world. Don't know. But their last name is like 99% Indian. So I don't know what is going on. And I do not agree that as a government, as a federal government, we should allow these kind of moral standard people to enter our society.
yeah, good point.
So we'll see. We'll see. And also talking about some other countries, crazy thing, other countries, very crazy thing. It's about UK. And this morning, I saw a report from a organization and said UK experiencing record number of migrant rapes, and the police barely help. 25 cities police help
Yeah,
these immigrants to rape the English kids,
yeah,
young lady, like they're girls, underage girls. And so these 25, I have the name of the 25 cities. These please help them cover their crime.
right.
So I just wonder what's going on. This is your country. This is your own kids. And you help this immigrants, criminal, rape your own kids. What?
Yeah, you have a situation where immigration in countries like that, which have become very socialist, like the UK, probably one of the most socialist countries in Europe.
Mhm.
And what happens is an immigrant comes from wherever they come, but normally the rule of immigration in most countries is that when you immigrate into a country, you agree that you're going to adopt that country's values and
Of
laws and abide
course,
by their customs and all
right,
of that.
right.
Now, and I remember when my wife went through the process, all of those kind of tests they look at. All of the background investigation is designed to look at,
Sure,
are you going to be a citizen in our culture? Are you going to
sure.
adapt to
Yeah,
our culture? Are you
yeah.
going to, and what's happened in many of these countries is the opposite. The immigrants come in, and when they reach a certain level of the population, a certain percentage, then they want the country to adopt to their law, whether it's Sharia law or, Muslim or Buddhist, whatever it might be. But they come in on paper, they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to, become Christian or Jewish or something similar to your values in your culture, that particular country. And then they get in and they say, no, 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 we want you to adopt our values. We want you to become like us rather than we're not going to become like you.
No, Tom, this
And they
is
get away
not
with it.
immigrants. This is invasion. You
Well,
come
that's what it becomes. Yeah.
That's, I'm sorry I interrupt you. I just cannot hold myself. How could you do that? Immigration to another country, you respect this country, you like this country, and you follow the law, you follow the culture and everything. Otherwise, why you immigrant to the other country and you come here, you bring your own culture and you destroy this country? Why we allow them to do that in our country, in UK? Why?
Yeah. Well, it used to be for thousands of years that you fight a war, the country that wins then can impose its culture on the loser.
Of course, yeah, that's
Or
the
maybe the loser wants that. A
right,
good example is that the United States Army, General MacArthur, after Japan surrendered,
right,
the U.S. military occupied Japan for 5 years.
right, right.
Rewrote their constitution, rewrote their laws,
Yeah,
changed and made a concerted effort to change their culture.
right,
And
right,
in many ways, the Japanese people wanted that and accepted it.
right.
So that's what happens. Japan becomes a democracy. Um, I had testified in Japan about laws there to model their law after our organized crime
Mhm.
laws, our RICO statute, our procedures, and all of that. And the people there welcomed it.
Of course, yeah.
But but they also lost the war and lost millions of people.
Hmm.
So Same thing in other countries. They end up welcoming the conquerors because they have to, in a way.
Hmm.
So, that's one of the things that we see now is that country loses and they still want to impose their values on the conquering country.
Hmm.
And if the country is lazy or apathetic or they don't care or they don't guard their values, then you can see that happening.
Could we just say that is so stupid to allow people to do so in the country like UK?
Well, how do these well, here in the US, how do these Democrats keep electing these mayors who
Yeah,
then put in chiefs of police and other senior officials, and they're either completely ideological left-wing radicals or they're just morons or both.
yeah.
And
Oh, oh.
and that's what gets allowed in these cities. You look at the upcoming election for mayor of New York, the statements that that guy has made, unbelievable.
Hmm.
So, and the people are going to vote for him. The Democrats in New York, apparently, he's winning by a wide margin.
And also, I saw a video, a very a short video clip from Minnesota. What's the guy's name? Governor Tim Walton, right?
Yeah, well,
Walth, yeah, Tim Walth. He just go crazy about President Trump said burn American flag for 1 year in prison, and he just go crazy and asking for people all over the country, especially big city, just burn the American flag
it's interesting. Over the
openly.
last couple of years, you've had rulings by the courts that that's free speech, freedom of speech, if you want to burn an American flag.
Hmm.
So, what I would say is, it's if you want to call it freedom of speech, then call it hate crime against the U.S.
Right, right,
So, use that.
right. So I just want to share some information about UK, which is maybe some audience already know, maybe not. But I just like to um share this information and see how seriously the problem is right now. The massive immigration take over a nation in 1 generation. This is how. The mayor of London is Muslim. The mayor of Birmingham, Muslim. The mayor of Leeds, Muslim. The mayor of Blackburn, Muslim. Sheffield, Muslim. Oxford, Muslim. Luton, Muslim. Oldham, Muslim. Rochdale, Muslim. There are so many big cities has fall
Yeah.
in the hand of Muslim. And also, um, there are only 4 million Muslim out of 66 million people in England. And right now, they have a total over 300 mosques in England, and there are over 130 Sharia courts. There are more than 50 Sharia councils. 78% of Muslim women do not work, receiving state support and free accommodations, everything. 60%, 63% of Muslim do not work, receive the support from the government. So, state support Muslim family with an average of 6 to 8 children receive free of everything. So there are some other numbers, but what do you think about that?
Well, I think that, they allowed that kind of immigration to come in. And as I mentioned before, when that level of immigration occurs, they don't adopt the values of the UK. They want the UK to conform to their values, whether
Mm,
it's Sharia law or, many of their other customs. They want the city there. I remember when the Muslim mayor was first elected in London.
yeah.
And the first thing he ordered was that the London buses had
Mhm,
these advertisements for
mhm.
fashion or perfume or whatever, and they had scantily clad women in the advertising. not naked, but wearing, revealing clothes, let's say. And he ordered all the city buses in London take off those advertisements, no more. So
It's
it's
their
not like I'm coming to live in the UK because I admire the freedom and the culture and want to see advertising like that or television shows or MTV music, whatever it might be. And instead, they have them repainting the buses to take off those commercials. So, and
I
then nobody objects. Oh, okay, we'll do that.
so that's the problem.
Yeah.
Why does people agree with them? Just like 25 cities police help them to rape the kids or just don't care about them, rape their own kids. I cannot get it.
Well, you could see this coming. George Orwell wrote the book 1984 in the
Mhm.
late 40s
Sure.
in London. And he
Hmm.
wrote Animal Farm and some other material.
Right.
And he himself was a socialist, but in his books, he showed what's going to come with socialism, ironically. And you see where the public complies. In 1984, they just, oh, okay, they go along with it. Animal Farm, basically, same thing. The story with the pigs and the animals in Animal Farm was showing how society had become and what socialism really meant. So you have, the two pigs that are running the society basically, say to each other, that all pigs are equal, but
Hmm.
some pigs are more equal.
Right.
And
Snow.
that's socialism. Everybody's equal, but certain
Right.
people are more equal.
Well, what I can say is stability is a kind of crime. That's all I can say. And second is we're so lucky to have Trump, to have the patriot to come out to help to protect this country.
Well, right now, when you look at the policies that he follows or philosophies that he talks about, many of these things, 95% of the people support it.
Yeah.
So, and a small percentage are against it. But
Mm-hmm.
in the long run, will Trump win the culture war on our behalf?
Mm-hmm.
People just be so complacent and compliant that, oh, well, yeah, Trump's right, but we don't care. That may happen.
Well, we'll see that. We'll see that. And also, Tom, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And then this is very, very valuable for us. And we still, even though Trump win the election, we still in the middle of a culture war.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a hard one. It's a really hard one. And also talking about in China and U.S., it's a very controversial relationship, and it's everything is going on, and it's chaos. And now we just heard that President Trump allowed 600 million
Right.
American students come into the U.S. colleges,
Yeah,
and
10 or 20 years ago, the number of Chinese students here on a student visa was about 350,000.
it's double now.
So now you're talking double, 600,000 or more. And,
Why?
we'll see. Good
So what?
question.
Yeah, so some people just said,
Well, somewhere behind all that, there's some kind of a deal that Trump is making with Xi
hmm,
for that.
right.
So we'll see.
And the Secretary of Department of Commerce just said that if we do not allow this 600 thousand students come into the college in the US, 15% of the US college will go bankrupt. So this is a deal, rational deal. And some people just said, okay, just let them bankrupt.
Yeah.
Why you care about that? So
Yeah.
I personally agree with you. There may be some other things going on behind. It's a deal, or a part of a
Well,
deal.
there's so many things, if you go back even just a couple of months ago when
Mhm.
Trump was talking about all these tariffs against all of these countries
Right,
and everybody that's anti-Trump,
right,
oh, he's going to bankrupt the U.S. None of these countries are going to go, they're not going to do it. And
right.
that's terrible. And we're not going to. And now you look back on that, and almost every country has complied. Whatever
Right.
tariff he agreed, they came back and said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And moving the companies to America again, the jobs back to the US, all of that kind of stuff. So I think that, in Trump's case, he doesn't do these things just, you know,
Yeah.
because he woke up one day with a headache and decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a strategy. There's a plan, let's say,
Right.
of what the benefit is of these students coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things, for example, after 9/11, before 9/11, all these Chinese students and other country students that came to the US, as they approached graduation with their degrees, they had a certain amount of time to find a job in the US.
Right.
It'd be like 2 years, 3 years, but they had time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to MIT or one of these really highly technical schools, you don't have time as the semester is coming to an end to be out doing job interviews, flying around the country. You're studying night and day, and
Right.
then it's over. And then all of a sudden the government says, okay, you've got a month to find a job. If not, you have to go home.
Mm-hmm.
So what ended up happening sounded great. We're protecting us against terrorism and all that, even though not one Chinese student became a terrorist, like not like Al Qaeda and the other ones.
Right.
And so now they have to go home. So you have all these graduates with these high level technical degrees going back to China, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened then was that the technical companies that used to hire them in the US opened branches in China. So
Mm,
you
right.
had Intel and Apple and all of these companies, high-tech companies, say, well, okay, if we can't keep them here, then we'll go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of backfired on the
Mm-hmm.
US, that all these students go back and China gets the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one advantage that happened from that was when I was running the organized crime program of the FBI in the mid 90s, we had all of this institutional theft from
Mm-hmm.
the research being done in America.
Mm-hmm.
Chinese, Russia, among the worst,
Mm-hmm.
trying to steal what we were developing. And with
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese, I can remember going to a meeting in China saying, can you help us with the theft of our intellectual property? Many of your people are stealing our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And their answer was, oh, no, 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 no. We're not stealing there's no such thing. Oh,
Oh.
okay. Well, now, a couple of years later, when China now has Intel and the other tech companies with research centers in China,
Mm-hmm.
then I could remember one of the times I came in for a meeting in China, and one of the ministers gets me aside and he says, you've got to help us. We have a terrible problem with the theft of intellectual property. Oh, really?
Really?
Kidding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is we helped them and they helped us. It was an agreement. And that worked out very well. We had solved a lot of cases because in many of those cases, it was organized crime
Mm-hmm.
stealing the intellectual property from both sides. So it wasn't China stealing from the US only, or the US is now going to steal. It was US organized crime and
Mm-hmm.
other international groups stealing from China.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly we made all these agreements and deals and work joint cases and all of that. And for that reason, and a couple of others, is why China agreed and invited the FBI, please open an office in Beijing to help us. That's
Ah,
how it came about. So I negotiated that. We had an office in Hong Kong pretty much since the 1950s,
oh.
but
Mhm.
Hong Kong wasn't effective for controlling what was going on in mainland China.
Right, right, right.
But in any event, so we worked with the Chinese, but through Hong Kong and into China, and it was kind of a inefficient, let's say. So China, I go over there and the minister handed me the letter of invitation, which I brought back for the president. This is
Mm-hmm.
a letter from China. And we had people in the administration going, we don't want an office in China. Oh, yeah, we do. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had that office in Beijing since 2002.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Still the office
Still,
working?
still.
Very nice, very nice. What do you think? The last question, because you mentioned Hong Kong, what do you think about Hong Kong? Today's Hong Kong? You think it's still a capital of the
No,
Asia?
no, I
No.
think it was the financial capital
Right.
of Asia, and then what happens is after the CCP takes over, January or July, I mean, 1997,
Hmm.
and from that time on, it's been downhill economically for Hong Kong. They don't have the freedom, the capitalism, let's say, to
Hmm.
be a major economic power in Asia. So really, Singapore has taken over more of that. What
Hmm.
used to be Hong Kong used to be the base of all of that intellectual property,
Hmm. So
financial. Uh,
financial capital, like the status. So, yeah, it's a little surprised me. It's not Taipei. Instead of it's
now,
Singapore to take over Hong Kong's. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. We the time is up. See, 1 hour goes so fast.
yes,
So
it
we're
does.
talking about, yeah, we discussed a lots of things and now we'll translate into Chinese as soon as possible. There are some audience said that, oh, thank you so much, and we're waiting for the Chinese version. And we know that you guys talk about some important issues.
Any questions from last week or
Yeah, last week they do have a question. That seems like it's too late. Come too late today. Okay. Yeah, last week, let me give me 1 minute. Let me check on the if I still can see the question of last week. 1 second. Um oh, I think one audience asking you, how do you see Zelensky's role? Will he stay as the president at the end of the Ukraine war, or he
no, he
probably
won't. That's why he doesn't want to end it. He
okay.
probably won't even stay alive. So I think Zelensky is dead man walking, and he knows it. And so he's been relying on being protected bodyguards from MI6, and probably some CIA that are keeping him alive, and that's keeping him in power. He called off the election, so he was never reelected. He's been an unelected leader now for several years,
Mhm,
and and then we say, oh, we've got to protect democracy. There's no democracy in Ukraine at all. It's one of the most corrupt countries. It's been one of the most corrupt countries. It still is. So
mhm,
much of the military support that we've given them during the Biden administration, many of their crooked generals sold much of that equipment. In
mhm,
fact, you see members of the Mexican cartels walking on the streets of Mexico carrying multi-million dollar shoulder operated weapons to shoot down helicopters or airplanes. So you have
mhm,
cartel members with very sophisticated weapons that we sent to Ukraine. The generals then sent it to a nearby like arms auction,
mhm,
and they crooked sellers or whatever sold it to other countries trying to buy illegal contraband
mhm,
stuff that we
mhm,
sent to defend Ukraine. Well, it's been a joke. And there's a lot of evidence, Zelensky and other of his top leaders that just embezzled after they sold all this stuff, took the
mhm,
money to buy properties. So Zelensky allegedly has multi-million dollar properties in South Florida, in
mhm,
Cyprus, in other countries,
mhm,
and so do many of the other generals. So they're all in a position that when the time's up and the government collapses, they're all hoping that they can get on the next plane out, private aircraft out,
mhm.
and just relocate to places where they won't be extradited back to the U.S.
Right. And also, the audience talk about what do you think about the future of the peace talk between Ukraine and Russia? Seems like Zelensky has some other thought, and he just have some new conditions to come out. So, will you think it will have a one peace
We'll
talk?
see because Trump has decided we're not going to do like Biden and just send military stuff right to Ukraine.
Hmm.
So what he's decided is we'll sell it to NATO.
Yeah, right.
And NATO, if they're, and I don't know how long their money is going to hold up,
Hmm.
but then NATO can decide, if they're going to sell it to Ukraine or give it to Ukraine or what. And I think that what Trump imagines is that NATO's going to say, wait a minute, we're not going to keep this up. We can't afford it. And so we'll see. We'll see what Putin does, with all of this. So
Sure.
I think that, the next couple of weeks will tell. But Zelensky, again, he knows that if he's no longer the president, he's a dead man.
Yep. Yeah.
Nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody's going to follow him. And probably one or more of the generals that he betrayed in Ukraine that ended up losing tens of thousands of their soldiers in this war, that, you can imagine one or more of them are going to turn on him
Yeah.
and kill him.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think he's just going to be killed.
It's yeah. If that happens, it's not a surprise at all.
No,
And then also the other question regarding is about 2026 midterm. So President Trump already said that we should not use the mailing ballot and the machine.
right.
But are we have enough time to do so in order to secure the next year midterm?
I think so. But the other issue that's, I think, as or more important is the gerrymandering. So if you look at Texas, for example, the Democrats have lost all these seats in Texas to Republicans. And the margin in the House of Representatives was so close, one or two votes one way or the other.
Mhm.
So if that keeps up and the Republicans keep getting more seats, whether it's through the courts or however they work it, but if they get more and more seats, it'll be at a point where the Democrats can't catch up. And
Mhm.
it's not going to be with one or two votes separating them. It could be 10 or 20. And then the Democrats are through.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's a good sign. So we'll wait and see. Well, thank you for
Right?
mentioning that. Yeah, thank you. Yep. Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, have so many questions, and then you give them a very clear answer. So I'll do the translation as soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully next Tuesday we have some result from the peace talk. Do you think we still need more time, or another week will work out? Hard to say.
Might. Well,
Yeah,
the real talks are going on and we don't see them.
right.
So, Trump's representatives and Putin's representative, all of that behind the scenes. So there's so much going on like that that
Mm-hmm.
we just don't know for sure what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see next week if we have some news.
Yeah, we
Okay.
will.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tom.
Okay. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.
See you next.